Hello everyone. This lecture we are going to see about the digestive glands and process of digestion. Okay, so our human system has certain digestive glands that which supports digestion process. Fine. So first we will see what are these glands. Okay. So there are totally 3 glands are present in the human digestive system. They are salivary glands. Okay, salivary glands, liver and pancreas. Okay, these 3 are the glands that which secrete certain enzymes, hormones and certain other electrolytes that which supports the process of digestion. First we will see where these glands are situated. Okay, first we will say about salivary glands. As we know, salivary glands secrete saliva and they are present in the buccal and the oral cavity. Okay, there are totally 3 types of glands. First one is parotid. The second one is submandibular, and the third one is sublinguals. Fine, sublinguals. These 3 glands are said to be present in the buccal or the oral cavity. So this part. The first one, the parotid, the largest gland, that is the major and the largest gland among the 3. Okay. So this parotid is placed either side of the cheeks, that is they are in 2 numbers. So either side of the cheek and near the ears. Okay, so this is the parotid gland. Okay, there these glands, right, they secrete alpha amylase. Fine, they secrete alpha amylase, that which helps in digestion of carbohydrates, especially starch. Okay, so these are the largest glands among the 3. They secrete alpha amylase together with the saliva. That is, the saliva content has alpha amylase, and this amylase, that is breaking down of starch into simpler parts. Okay, simpler molecules. That is almost 30% of the carbohydrates are broken down in the oral cavity, and the process is done by alpha amylase present in the parotids. So these parotids secrete the saliva into the oral cavity or buccal cavity through parotid ducts. Okay, they secrete to parotid ducts. So these are the striated ducts, striated or intercalated ducts. Okay. And the next comes to submandibular. Submandibular, they are present about 2 inches above the Adam's apple and 2 inches next, that is underneath our lower jawbone. Right? So here is our jawbone. The glands are present here. Okay. This submandibulars, while talking about this submandibulars, they majorly secrete mucin. Okay, mucin, also certain amount of amylase. So they are smaller when compared to parotid, but they contribute to the around 70% of the salivary content in the oral cavity. Fine. So these glands, right, these glands secrete both mucin and amylase, and they help in swallowing and this mastication process. Fine. Then comes sublinguals. Sublinguals, they are present just beneath the tongue. Okay, beneath or underneath the tongue. So these secrete almost 5 to 10% of our saliva of the oral cavity. So they don't have any specialized ducts like as in parotid or submandibular. In submandibulars, the saliva is secreted through the oral cavity by submandibular duct. Similarly, parotids also have parotid ducts, but here sublinguals, no, they have revenous. So they have revenous ducts. Fine. So as I said earlier, salivary glands. Salivary glands are present in the buccal cavity or oral cavity of our digestive system. So first comes parotids, then submandibulars, and then sublinguals. Parotid are the major glands. So parotids, they secrete the saliva into the oral cavity through buccal parotid ducts. They have alpha amylase. So the saliva of the parotids contain alpha amylase. They break down carbohydrates into smaller molecules. Okay, that is especially starch. Then comes submandibular. Submandibular are situated under the lower jawbone and next, that is 2 inches above the Adam's apple, that is larynx part. Okay, and they secrete mucin and amylase both. Okay, they are mixed glands. They contribute to almost 70% of the salivary content of our buccal cavity, and they secrete they let out the saliva into the oral cavity through submandibular duct. Fine, and these are also called as submaxillary glands. Fine. Then comes sublinguals. Sublinguals, what they do is they are present beneath the tongue. They have almost 20 to 80 revenous ducts through which they directly secrete saliva into the oral cavity. So this is all about the salivary glands. So salivary glands are present in the oral cavity. Not only 3 salivary glands are present, these are the major salivary glands. Okay. Other than these major salivary glands, there are hundreds to thousands of minor salivary glands. Okay, the major function of those glands, these glands are found scattered all over the buccal cavity. So under the palate and near the pharynx part. Okay, they line the pharynx part, palates, upper palates. Okay, what is their major function is they involve in the lubrication of the buccal cavity. Okay, they secrete mucus, and this mucus content they help in lubrication process. Fine, and this is all about the salivary glands. Then comes liver. Liver, the largest gland of the body. Okay, they weigh around 1.2 to 1.6 kgs in an adult human. They are pinkish red color muscular organ. Okay, they are located just below the diaphragm. Okay, they are located just below the diaphragm. So they are adjacent to the stomach. These are four-lobed muscular organs. Right. So this is what. So all the glands, right, I have highlighted in red colors. Right. So this one. This is the liver. Okay. So liver, no, they have hepatic lobules. Okay, they are constructed to hepatic lobules. So these hepatic lobules are covered by a sheath called Glissen's capsule. Okay, a protective covering. Okay, and inside the lobules you have secretory cells called hepatic cells. These cells are arranged in cords. So these are the secretory part of the liver. Fine. these cells, no, they secrete bile juice. The main function of the liver is to secrete bile juice. It has also other functions, but as we talk about digestive system, the main function of the liver is to secrete bile juice. Okay, they produce bile juice, which are rich in bile salts and bilirubin. That is bilirubin, biliverdin. All these are pigments. Okay. And these bile juice secreted by these cells enter hepatic ducts. Okay. Hepatic ducts. So these hepatic ducts, they send the bile juice to a small muscular organ. Okay, so it is present here, this muscular organ or muscular bag like structure called gallbladder. So gallbladder serves as the storage organ of the bile. So why it is stored here is, here the bile juice gets concentrated. Why it is getting concentrated is, the concentration, when the concentration increases, its activity also increases. Okay, so to increase its activity, the bile's activity, it gets concentrated. Then this gallbladder together with the hepatic duct forms common bile duct. Okay, so this is what all about liver. Then comes to pancreas. Then we'll talk about pancreas. Pancreas is present below the stomach, and just it is situated to the C-shaped duodenum part, C-limbed duodenal part of the digestive system. Okay, so here comes pancreas. Pancreas is a compound organ. Compound in the sense they have both exocrine and endocrine cells. Okay, endocrine system. So these two systems have different processes. When we talk about endocrine system, that is endocrine portion, they secrete hormones, insulin, glucagon. Okay, hormones such as insulin and glucagon for maintaining the blood glucose level. And here the exocrine system, they secrete pancreatic juice. Okay, pancreatic juice. So these pancreatic juice contain certain enzymes, that is digestive enzymes in inactive form. So this pancreatic juice together with the bile juice from the common bile duct secrete into the duodenum. Okay, so here secrete into the duodenum by or through hepatopancreatic duct. Fine. So pancreas is a leaf-like structure situated in the C-shaped limb of the duodenum. So this is a compound organ, and in the exocrine part the pancreatic juice is secreted. This pancreatic juice contains certain inactive enzymes. Okay, inactive digestive enzymes. So the enzymes together with the bile enters duodenum, opens into duodenum through hepatopancreatic duct. So this is what all about pancreas. So liver and pancreas work together. Okay, they send their bile juice and the pancreatic juice together. So now let's see how the digestion process happens, how these three glands contribute to the process, digestive process. Okay. First, actually the process of digestion happens, process of digestion. This is a combined process, that is a combination of mechanical and various chemical processes. Okay, mechanical process in the sense, first what happens is the food from the mouth enters buccal cavity. Okay, here two process happens, that which comes under mechanical process. What are they are? First is mastication, right? Mastication. The other one is swallowing. The process of mastication is done with the combined process of tooth, tongue together with saliva. Okay, the tooth chews, the process of chewing with saliva is called as mastication. So tongue facilitates the even flow of food, movement of food within the oral cavity. Okay, so that all the food are evenly chewed or masticated. Okay, so mastication or chewing, right? Then swallowing occurs. Once a food gets masticated, it enters from here, from oral cavity, it enters pharynx. Pharynx. So this part you call as pharynx. From pharynx, the food then get swallowed to esophagus. So esophagus. So the process of this movement of food from the oral cavity, pharynx, and then the movement of food to esophagus. From this part to the esophageal part. This is called as swallowing, or in other words, deglutition. Right? That is, the food here actually it once when it combines with saliva, food plus saliva becomes bolus. Okay, so the solid food becomes semi-solid form, that is named as bolus. Okay, so the bolus then gets deglutited into esophagus. Here from the esophagus, the food moves through the esophagus, that is from pharynx, the food moves through the esophagus by a series of movements from the muscles. Okay, so esophageal walls undergo some movement called peristaltic movement. So the process is also known as peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis. Once the food enters the esophagus, it moves through the esophageal tube through the peristaltic movement. Then the food from the esophagus enters the stomach. So when it enters the stomach, here there are some guard muscles, also known as sphincters. They are known as gastroesophageal sphincter. Okay, what they do is, once the food enters the stomach, the muscles over here closes. Okay, so there will be no backward flow of food. Once it enters, it will reach the stomach. Okay, the body portion of the stomach. So from the stomach, it cannot escape back to the esophageal tube. So this guarding muscle or guarding tube is called as gastroesophageal sphincter. Okay, so this is how the food from the oral cavity enters the stomach. So food enters here, it turns into bolus, it gets swallowed, then it enters esophagus, then it reaches muscle through the gastroesophageal sphincter. Okay, here when we are talking about stomach, so this is all mechanical process. Okay, all these are mechanical process. There are some other mechanical process happening here. What is there is, food here, what happens is, in the stomach is finely mixed with the gastric juice. There are some gastric juice present in the stomach. Okay, so food when enters here, it mixes with the gastric juice. So the mixing process is facilitated by the muscular movement of the stomach, known as Kerning movements. Kerning movement. Okay, the food in the stomach mixes with the gastric juice and by a certain movements called as Kerning movement. Then the food when leaves the stomach enters duodenum, and this is called as chyme. So food with the saliva becomes bolus. So bolus with the gastric juice plus gastric juice, it becomes chyme. Okay, then this chyme enters small intestine, where all that pure chemical digestion happens. Okay, here also some of the mechanical process happens. What is the facilitation of movement of this chyme into the intestinal tube and mixing of the food with the pancreatic and bile secretions together with the intestinal secretions happens by certain movements. Here some certain movements happens through which the food is continuously mixed with these secretions, with all of these secretions. Okay, so that secretions, that is that movement is controlled by, that is the movement is done by the muscularis layer of the small intestine. In small intestine, I will mention as SI. So muscularis layer involves in the mixing. Okay, muscularis layer, as we know, all the alimentary canals have 4 to 5 layers, right? The innermost lumen, the outermost serosa. So the second layer, known as muscularis layer, it involves in the contraction and like it will contract and expand, so it do some movements. Okay, this only does the movement by which the food gets mixed, that is the chyme gets mixed. Fine. So this is all the mechanical process happens till the small intestine. Then the food moves to the large intestine, and finally the food gets stored in the rectum. Fine. So here some guard muscles are there. Yeah, ileocecal valve, that is known as ileocecal valve. So here this is ileum portion, this is cecal portion. Okay, this too is guarded by the ileocecal valve. So these are the mechanical processes happening in the digestive system. Now when we are talking about the chemical processes, what are the chemicals or enzymatic processes happens in the digestive system? So we are going to discuss about the chemical reactions happening inside the digestive system. First one in the oral cavity. Okay, oral cavity, the most important enzyme is alpha amylase, right? So what happens is this alpha amylase converts starch to disaccharides, that is maltose. Okay, starch is a polysaccharide. So polysaccharides, the glycosidic bond, okay, the alpha glycosidic bond is broken down by the enzyme alpha amylase. Okay, so this alpha amylase breaks the starch into maltose. So maltose is a disaccharide. Fine. And then the food, so the broken down food contains maltose. That is, starch is broken down to maltose. Then other proteins and other carbohydrates, lipids, together with the saliva, okay, that enters esophagus and slowly moves down, and here it reaches stomach. As we know, stomach has gastric juice, right? So stomach mucosa has gastric glands which has 3 types of cells. Okay, so stomach has gastric glands. This gastric glands are present in the mucosal layer of the stomach. Okay, what happens is this gastric glands has 3 types of cells. They are mucosa neck cells, then peptic or chief cells, then comes parietal or oxyntic cells. Okay, so first mucosa neck cells, they are responsible for secretion of mucus. Okay, they are also known as favular cells. Okay, what is the function of this mucus is it prevents the stomach lining, mucosal lining, from the corrosive nature of the HCl. Okay, due to this acid present in the stomach, there are lots of chances of the stomach muscles getting damaged. Okay, the layers in the stomach getting damaged. So this mucosa neck cells prevent the stomach from being eroded by the HCl. Okay, then comes peptic or chief cells. They are responsible for secretion of pepsinogen, an inactive enzyme. Okay, proteolytic enzyme. Okay, then other thing, the parietal or oxyntic cells. These are the cells responsible for secretion of HCl and intrinsic factors. Okay, what are intrinsic factors? Intrinsic factors are nothing but they are certain proteins. They can be glycoproteins also. So what they do is they absorb the vitamin B12 present in the food, that is present in the bolus. Okay, so why this special intrinsic factor? Why it is need to absorb particularly vitamin B12 in the sense is vitamin B12 is very much important for the production of RBCs, DNAs, and they are the main or they are one of the important factor for the function of our nervous system. Okay, so vitamin B12, they are present in the food in very low quantities, and this vitamin B12 should not escape from the digestive glands, that is from the digestion process. Okay, so first the digestive system uptakes B12 directly from the food. Okay, then the HCl here, HCl has the very important function of maintaining the pH, that is to maintain acidic pH. So pH almost around 1.8, okay, is maintained inside the stomach, very acidic pH. Okay, so why it is means here the pepsinogen, this is the inactive proenzyme. Okay, so this inactive enzyme, that is proteolytic enzyme, okay, pepsinogen is converted to pepsin, okay, in stomach. So what happens is this HCl is responsible for the conversion of the pepsin, that is pepsinogen to pepsin, okay, at the pH 1.8. So pepsin is a proteolytic enzyme. So this pepsin, right, it converts protein, it breaks down proteins into smaller parts known as peptones or proteoses. Okay, so this is all about pepsinogen. So pepsin has the proteolytic activity of converting proteins to peptones and proteoses. One more function of HCl is to maintain the stomach, that is stomach from any infectious particles. So all bacteria, viruses are sensitive to pH. So at acidic pH they get destroyed. Okay, and one more thing, salivary glands like saliva also has lysozyme. So lysozyme is also an antimicrobial agent. So it has antimicrobial activity. So it prevents our buccal cavity from numerous infections. Okay, so this is all happens in the stomach. Now let's see what happens in the intestine, that is the duodenal part. Most of the reaction occurs in the duodenal part. Okay, all the digestion process happens in the duodenal part, and least amount of process happens in the ileum and rectum. So in the duodenal part, all the bile juice and pancreatic juice are put into this part. Okay, they get secreted into the limbs of the C-shaped limbs of the duodenum. So here bile juice, while talking about this bile juice they don't have any enzymes. Okay, as I already told, bile juice has only pigments, bile pigments. Such as bilirubin, biliverdin, and they have certain bile salts. Okay, they also have cholesterol, phospholipids. Okay, so bile helps in the emulsification of fats. That is, bile has some compounds that which activates lipases. Okay, they activates lipases, by which lipids are hydrolyzed, like lipids are emulsified. So what happens is the lipids here emulsified into micelles. Okay, so this is what the bile juice does, and then we are talking about intestinal juice. So intestinal juice, that is also known as intestinal secretions. Okay, so these are secreted by the goblet cells found in the intestinal mucosa. Okay, so intestinal mucosal epithelium. So these has goblet cells that will secrete mucus. So this constitutes the whole secretions constitutes intestinal juice. This intestinal juice also known as succus entericus. Okay, so succus entericus. So this juice contains variety of enzymes like disaccharidases, dipeptidases, lipases, nucleosidases. Okay, disaccharidases, dipeptidases, then and lipases, nucleosidases. Pancreatic juice. So before intestinal juice, pancreatic juice acts upon the food, like this bolus. Okay, what happens is pancreatic juice contains inactive enzymes, also known as planked, that is trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, this one is nucleases, this one is amylases, they form lipases, these are procarboxy peptidases. Okay, together planked. Okay, all these enzymes are inactive form. So lipases are activated by bile juice, and other this trypsinogen peptidases, procarboxy peptidases, all these are activated further. Okay, further in the intestine. So this is all about the pancreatic juice. Right? Now the trypsinogen, fine. The trypsinogen is converted to trypsin first. Okay. The first enzyme of pancreatic juice by enterokinase. This enterokinase is derived from the intestinal mucosa. Okay, the intestinal secretion has enterokinases that which activates the inactive enzyme trypsinogen to trypsin. This trypsin further activates other enzymes. Okay, PLANC. Food from the stomach enters the intestine. It is activated. It is acted upon by these secretions, these enzymes, activated enzymes, and forms the chyme. Okay, so now food bolus is turned to chyme. The chyme on reaching the intestine are acted upon by certain proteolytic enzymes. Okay. So first protein digestion happens, right? First, this already some proteins are digested, right? Proteoses in the stomach. So pepsin digested proteins into proteoses, peptones, etc. So these are then acted upon. Then they are converted to dipeptide. Okay. Similarly, fats, the fate of the fats. Fats are acted upon by the lipases. Okay. So they become diglycerides. Then comes starch or polysaccharides. Some amount they had not been, that which had not been digested. Here pancreatic amylase is present. Pancreatic amylase, right? What they do is they break the starch into disaccharides. Okay. Then comes nucleases. Nucleic acids, that is, they digest the nucleic acids, either DNA, RNA. Okay, there might be presence of some DNA or RNA. If they are present, the nucleases acts upon it. Okay, nucleases into nucleotides. Okay. Further, these nucleases acts upon it to form nucleosides. This is the first part of digestion. Okay, the digestion enzymes. All these are pancreatic enzymes. Okay. So the activated enzymes from the pancreas, they break this proteoses, fats, starch, nucleic acids. Also, then comes the enzymes of the succus entericus. These are pancreatic enzymes. So enzymes from succus entericus, they further simplify this products. Okay, so the products obtained from the digestion. Okay, so here what enzyme is? They are trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase. 3 enzymes. Okay, trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase. Okay. Okay. Succus entericus. So the secretions of succus entericus, what they do is they act on the end products of the above reactions to form respective simple absorbable forms. These final steps occur very close to mucosal epithelial cells of the intestine. So here inside the intestine, what happens is the epithelium cells, like epithelial layer. So this layer, the epithelial layer of the intestine, is the site of digestion. Okay, so where this process happens and other process called as succus centricus happens very close to them. So our intestine has near hairy like things, right? So it happens in the middle. Then this when the chyme moves closer to the epithelial cells, then this kind of digestion happens. What are those is dipeptides. First, this dipeptides, right, are further acted upon by dipeptidases. They form amino acids. Amino acids. Okay, amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins, peptide molecules. Okay, so this breaks the peptide bonds, all the peptide bonds, and forms amino acids. And maltose, here starch, starch gets digested and forms maltose. Okay, this maltose is further broken down. The glycosidic bonds are further broken down to form glucose. So two glucose molecules form one maltose. Okay, so this process is done by maltases. Similarly, sucrose are also present in the food. Okay, certain amount of sucroses still remain in the food. They are broken down by sucrases. Okay, so sucrose is a combination of glucose plus fructose. Similarly, already we know nucleotides are formed from breakdown of nucleic acids. This nucleotides means the sugar molecule, the base with phosphate. Now this phosphate also is broken down from the nucleotides by nucleotidases. Okay, nucleotidases breaks this nucleotides to form nucleosides. Further, these nucleosides are broken by nucleosidases to form nucleosides, base and sugars. Okay, so base and sugars are broken. So these are easily absorbed. These are the simpler absorbable compounds of the from the complex substance, and these compounds are absorbed and assimilated by the intestinal cells for metabolic process and for the energy purpose. Okay, so now the undigested food. What is the fate of undigested food? The undigested food enters the cecum of the large intestine via this ileocecal valve. Okay, so the undigested food moves through the large intestine, and this large intestine has two functions: absorption of some left out water and minerals and certain drugs, that which is not digested, they are not absorbed here, they get absorbed here. Okay, and the other thing is binding action. They secrete some mucus here to bind all the undigested waste. So undigested waste are collected here as feces, and they are stored here in rectum for some time. Then they are the exit portal, they come out or they thrown out by the process called defecation. Okay, so all these process, the whole digestion process is a coordination process of both nervous system and hormones. Okay, so when you see a food or when you taste a food, like when you put it on your tongue or when you smell a food, that stimulates the oral cavity, the secretion of saliva. Okay, and the muscular activities of different parts of the alimentary canal are also controlled by neural mechanisms, both local and central nervous system. Okay, Similarly, like gastric and intestinal secretions are controlled, and all the hormonal control of secretion of digestive juices. So these glands secrete juices, right? That is also controlled by local hormones produced by the gastric and intestinal mucosa. Okay, so this is what the overall process of digestive glands and the process of digestion. Okay. I hope this lecture would be useful for you. Feel free if you have any doubts. Thank you.